two, one. Boom! What's going on, guys? Energy News Beat, episode number 167, here on this gorgeous Wednesday, November 25th, 2020. I am your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you on the phone from an undisclosed location here in Centennial, Colorado, seeing the fam, as always, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, Stuart Turley. Happy early Thanksgiving, Stu. Do you have any wild plans?
I do. I'm about to jump on a trainer and go through the Alps. It is fantastic talking to you. Tell your mom and dad and brother happy Thanksgiving.
Will do, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody who is checking us out here. We will be off tomorrow as the markets are not open, but trust me, guys, we will be back Friday. If the markets are open, we will be having a show. Trust me. We actually have a pretty interesting show for you guys lined up today. You go and take a look at the news ticker here. Bulls back in town for oil, baby. We're above $46. Crude oil stocks and natural gas stocks dropped today, lead to what we see as a rise in both those indices. Texas Railroad Oil and Gas Commission discussing renewables. Yikes! And Enbridge gets some interesting Line 5 news. Stu's got some stuff in the international news desk. No surprise on China emissions. He'll cover all that. We'll cover everything in the equities markets. But first, guys, just subscribe to this YouTube channel, Oil and Gas 360 /Enercom, the best place to stay updated on all of your energy finance news. Hit that pesky subscribe notifications button. Again, we really appreciate all the support. Again, on the equities markets today, guys, just if you're trading today, got to remember one thing. 50% of the normal volume, or less than half of the normal volume that gets traded on a normal day, trades today. So when you talk about market slumped a little bit today, well, that's because you only got about half the volume trading. And remember, what moves price? Volume. We talk about that all the time. So lower volumes definitely going to lead to some lower prices, and we see that reflected in our major indices today. SPY down a quarter of a percentage point. Tech stocks actually up slightly, half a percentage point, and Dow Jones, after breaking 30,000, we held a little party for that yesterday. It is now down 3/4 of a percentage point. Again, off the back of just nobody trading today. Traders were also reacting to some unemployment news that came out. There was expecting to be 733,000 people that applied for unemployment. That number was actually 778,000. For the first time in 6 weeks, that number was actually bigger than analysts' expectations. So partly what you're seeing in the equities markets. None of that news affected the crude oil markets, though, Stu. Holy smokes, 46.04 for our closing price, or for our price currently right now, 2.5 percentage points on the upside. That's a whole $1.13. Two things that were driving markets up. One, we saw a draw of about 900,000 barrels out of Cushing, which is good to see. And vaccine news continues to just lug this market upward. As we sang yesterday, the bulls are back in town, and they might be here to stay for oil. I don't know, Stu, could we see 50? I hope so for our wallet's sake. On the backside of the curve, 45.83. That's 1.6 percentage points on the upside. Natural gas, $2.86. That's 3 percentage points on the upside. Off the first draw of the season. We've been waiting all year to draw some natural gas stocks. We finally got 18 billion cubic feet. Implied flow was also 18 billion cubic feet. We're only about 8% above what we were last year, so it's good to see those numbers. Market was just needing a draw. It had a draw, and we saw it. That's why you're seeing that front month curve up 3.17 percentage point. Back into the curve fairly flat, $2.91, 0.8 percentage points. Normally when crude oil prices rise, we see energy equities rise. Not the case today. Equities were actually down about a percentage for the XOP OIH 150.90. That's a 1.2 percentage points on the downside. Some numbers on the upside to consider. Telrinian, they're up 12 percentage points. High Point Resources up 22%. Some of the biggest movers on the downside. CDEV and Ring Energy were on that side. Stu, what's on the international news desk today?
Oh, hey, Michael. Even though it's a day before Thanksgiving, we got some real turkeys out there. Hey, China and its CO2 emissions will be higher in 2020 than in 2019, says the World
I
Energy.
am shocked.
Now, here's the funny thing. Here's the nuggets in this article. They are ahead of 2019 as of today. They still have one more month to go. They are a member of the Paris Climate Accord, and they ain't doing really hot. So regarding China's oil demand, the IEA expects it to be higher this year, even with COVID. Unbelievable. So that being said, let's move on to the EU. The EU, if we're camera is still working here, it looks like we may be locked up. The EU drafts deal to upgrade to 2030 climate change next month. This is in Brussels. They are trying to all reduce gas emissions by 2030. I want to make this very clear. We are all in for lowering pollution. It's all about being good stewards of the planet, but you
But
got to
there's a
commit
balance
to what's
between
reasonable.
lowering emissions and low cost energy. There's a balance that you have to play there.
You got it, Michael. You are dead on right. You haven't had the turkey yet, so I can tell you're right on the ball. So with this, there's some nuggets in this article I thought was pretty funny. The European Council endorses a binding EU target and a net reduction of 55% by 2030. I got a question for you. With all those folks that say we're going to be dead in 8 years, let's do some math.
Mm-hmm.
How far out is 2030 from? We're going to miss it a few years. Okay, done with that one. You got to love it. Hey, something just came across the news desk. Last article for today. An oil tanker hit by a mine explosion near Saudi Arabia. This one, fortunately, nobody was hit. The oil tanker is coming back from dropping off its supply. It is the MT Agri oil tanker, a Greek
Mm-hmm.
flying a Maltese flag. There is an oil spill, according to
Yep.
tankertrackers.com, but fortunately, it was mostly empty. So
There's
anyway, we'll keep you posted
I'm
on that.
you know how highly skeptical I am of all of these stories we're hearing about Saudi Arabia and explosions. If I hear another one of these stories, I'm gonna flip to you, Stu, and become a conspiracy theorist because it just seems
Who
like they're
said I'm
having
a
all of this
conspiracy
stuff
theorist?
drop.
Well, I'll go into it later. I got my sources.
No, and you've done a great job covering all this. I mean, what's crazy is that's a footnote on what's happening with crude oil right now, which is crazy. Three Saudi Arabian explosions, one of them possibly terrorism, and that doesn't even make the headlines for crude oil. Fairly unbelievable. As always, guys, this show is powered by Data Gumbo. We love them over there. Go get yourself a big bowl of Data Gumbo before you load up on Turkey, guys. They are an international blockchain company that is helping companies increase transactional certainty and helping you guys save money on OPEX. Check them out, www.datagumbo.com. On the U.S. side, quickly, crude oil, natural gas stocks, as we covered, 900,000 barrel draw for crude oil stocks, help rise that crude oil price up to 46.08. A couple other interesting numbers here. 100,000 increase in our domestic production up to 11 million barrels flat. Not good to see. And refinery utilization, that other number I really like to look at, 78.7. So we're up about 1.5% from last week, still down from 89 percentage points. So that kind of gives you an idea of the total numbers that are going on. With all of these lockdowns that are happening, it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. We'll really be able to see if people were moving around for Thanksgiving or not, or if they actually took all that social distancing stuff correctly. It shows up in the EIA numbers. Cuomo doesn't know it, but we know it. What else do we have here? Natural gas stocks drew 18 billion cubic feet. Which is, again, we've been looking for a draw on natural gas. We were expecting it for the next the last 3 weeks. We finally had it. High level numbers there, like I said, 18 billion cubic feet draw, implied flow 18 billion cubic feet. Total stocks are currently sitting at 3.94 or 394,000 billion cubic feet. So I mean, we just got a lot of natural gas stored, people. So when we talk about what this gas price could do, and just remember how much we've got stored here. It's unbelievable. Two other stories. This one actually, Stu dropped me both of these interesting. Enbridge files in federal court to block Michigan's illegal actions against Line 5. You can't see me, but I'm reading off paper. I feel like, Stu, we're back in the Stone Age here. I can't. What is paper? I can't even read it. It just feels weird to hold. Guys, you remember Line 5 is an Enbridge line that runs from Canada all the way down into the United States. The problem is Michigan is blocking a lot of their access. What happened here, Enbridge filed in U.S. District Court for the Western District of Michigan seeking an injunction to stop the state of Michigan from taking any steps to prevent the operation of Line 5. The intent to shut down Line 5 interferes with the comprehensive federal regulation of safety pipeline burn. I mean, we could go on and on because I've got the full article in front of me. Point is, if you've got physical infrastructure, as I mentioned, it's only going to become more valuable. The problem is it's stories like this that make investors really pause themselves because, yeah, you could spend billions on CapEx, but if with a stroke of a pen, Michigan can come in and say, no bueno, not good for them. We'll be following all of Line 5 stuff. This is something else that Stu dropped over my way. Texas Railroad Commission discussing possibility and timeline of moving towards renewable energy. This is kind of a case of the headline doesn't really match up with the article. You read the article, all it says is the one quote is from President-elect Biden during the second presidential debate in October. He said, I would transition from the oil industry, yes. What's funny is then they go to quote Jim Wright, who's the newly elected TRCCC oilfield service president, clearly isn't that interested in renewable energy, but we did get him on quote here. I think if we're going to look at technology, we are going to look at renewable sources. They need to be, and this is the quote that Stu, you'll love, they need to be sourced that can stand on its own 2 feet. He said it like a true patriot.
That's funny.
So, from that standpoint, really, really good. They weren't able to reach out to Chrissy Christ. So, I mean, this is obviously Jim Wright. He's he's an oilfield service guy. He's not going to be too heavy on renewable energy, but it will be interesting. The Texas Railroad Commission, they're going to be the ones, it's really interesting. Who's going to move first? One of these, whether it's the Texas Railroad Commission, the North Dakota Minerals Council, the COGCC, which there's an article that is in the works right now. Very interesting on what's going on with Senate Bill 81. One of those, maybe it's California Geothermal, one of these regulatory bodies on a state level is going to move first. I doubt it's Texas, but hey, somebody's thinking about it. Stu, is there anything else on the news desk we missed today?
Oh, I don't know. You look the best you've looked in years. Happy Thanksgiving, dude.
It is I've actually just put on some weight, so we have to go to the photo to slim me up a little bit. But no, I'll be wearing the expandable pants tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Stu. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who has reached out and listens to the show, guys. But with that, we're going to go and get out of here. Let you get back to work. Finish up your day, hopefully end early. We're going to go ahead and give you an all pass for the whole week. Even though we'll be working Friday, we'll give you the day off. Better still view the show, though. Oil and Gas 360 /Intercom. Subscribe. Do whatever to make the algorithms go nuts. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner, guys. We will see you on Friday for another edition of the Energy News Beat.